The golden light of late afternoon spilled softly across the countryside, brushing every blade of grass and every leaf with its warmth. The small village breathed in quiet rhythm, calm on the surface, yet beneath it, hearts beat faster than they had in months. After seasons of silence, the news had spread like a tender wildfire. James was finally coming home. At the front gate, his mother stood motionless. Her trembling fingers clutched a faded scarf, the one she had knitted for him years ago. The fabric had grown thin from age and prayer. Each day she had worn it, whispering the same wish: let him come back safely. Not as the powerful CEO the newspapers had celebrated, not as the man of business suits and headlines, but as her boy. The one who once ran barefoot through the fields, laughing under the summer sun inside. His father sat at the old wooden table, a newspaper open before him. He wasn't reading, his eyes hadn't moved in minutes. He was a man of few words, one who had endured life with quiet strength. But even that strength had worn thin beneath the weight of waiting. He's been through enough, he murmured to no one in particular. This time, I just want him to be happy. Then, from beyond the gate, came the faint hum of an engine. The old dog barked first, a familiar, jubilant sound, followed by hurried footsteps on gravel. The creak of the gate cut through the stillness. And there he was. James stepped out. Thinner than before, his shoulders still broad but no longer burdened by the sharp edges of ambition. His face carried fatigue, yet beneath it, peace. His mother gasped softly, her hand flying to her mouth as tears filled her eyes. "My son," she breathed, before running forward and gathering him into her arms. For a long, trembling moment, no one spoke. The air between them filled with the scent of home, warm earth, steaming rice, jasmine in bloom. James closed his eyes and let the world slow down. After chaos, betrayal, and sleepless nights of regret, he was back where he truly belonged. Not in the city, not in the office towers that had swallowed his years, but here, in the small, imperfect home where love had waited in silence. The return of laughter. That evening, the house came alive again. The soft glow of oil lamps washed over the walls, and the sound of laughter, once absent for too long, returned like music. In the kitchen, his mother's hands moved swiftly, tenderly. She prepared all his favorites: caramelized fish, fragrant jasmine rice, and a bowl of herbal soup from their garden. At the table, his father poured him tea, the steam curling upward like a blessing. "You look thinner," his father said, gruff, as always, but his eyes betrayed the gentleness beneath. James smiled faintly. Work took more from me than I realized, he admitted. But I'm home now. That's all that matters. His mother placed a bowl in front of him, her eyes glistening. Eat, son, she whispered. You need strength again. For a moment, James didn't answer. He only looked around, at the old photographs, the smell of lemongrass drifting from the kitchen, the hum of insects just outside. Peace. That elusive, unbuyable peace he had chased all his life but only now found, here. After dinner, his mother reached across the table. Her hand trembled slightly as she said, "We were so afraid, every single day. We prayed you'd come back to us. God must have listened." James reached for her hand, voice low but steady. "I'm sorry I worried you, Mom. But everything I've been through, it made me realize what truly matters. Not power, not money. It's this, family, home." His father nodded silently, his throat tightening. Outside, the moon shone full and gentle, as if blessing their reunion. And for the first time in years, James laughed, not as a CEO burdened by titles, but as a son who had finally come home. The quiet morning. The next morning arrived in tender hues of gold and green. Sunlight spilled over the fields, painting every dewdrop in light. The air was fresh, carrying the scent of rain-kissed soil. James woke early, drawn by the rhythm of home, the rooster crowing in the distance, his mother sweeping the yard, the soft chatter of neighbors echoing down the lane. Yet amid that peace, a name stirred in his heart. Too deep. He hadn't seen her since that day outside the hospital, the day she'd stood in the drizzle, her eyes full of tears she refused to let fall. She had been his quiet strength, the one who stayed when the world turned away. And now, after all the storms, he longed to see her again, not as the broken man he once was, but as someone reborn. He picked a small bouquet of wildflowers along the road, simple, imperfect, beautiful. The path to her house was lined with memories. Every tree, every sound seemed to whisper her name. The reunion. Too Deep was in the garden, bending gently to water the flowers. The morning light touched her face, soft and golden. When she looked up and saw him standing at the gate, her breath caught. "James," she whispered. He smiled, a smile that carried every apology, every promise. "I told you I'd come back." The world held still. Then, suddenly, she was running, tears in her eyes, her hands trembling. The bouquet slipped from his fingers as he caught her in his arms. "I missed you," he murmured. "I waited," she whispered against his chest. The wind stirred through the trees, carrying the sound of their quiet laughter across the fields. After months of distance and fear, they were together again, not in the noise of the city, but here, where love was simple and real. The Pond of Promises. That afternoon, they sat by the small pond behind her house. Lotus flowers floated lazily on the still water, catching the reflection of the setting sun. The silence between them wasn't empty, it was full. Full of unspoken words, of what had been lost and found again. Finally, James spoke. "I used to think I had to conquer the world to deserve love," he said, watching the ripples. "But the more I chased success, the further I ran from peace." Too Deep smiled faintly, her eyes soft. "Sometimes life has to break us first, only then do we learn what really matters." He turned to her, voice trembling. "You were the only one who never stopped believing in me." "Even when I failed, even when I lost everything." She looked away, tears glimmering. "Because I saw the real you, James. Not the man in the newspapers, but the one who brought rice to the workers when they had none, who visited the sick even when his own world was falling apart." He reached for her hand, warm and fragile. "You gave me a reason to live again. Now I just want to spend my life protecting that light in you." She closed her eyes, overcome. "Then promise me," she whispered, "that no matter what happens, you'll never lose yourself again." "I promise," he said, voice steady. "This time, I'll live not for power, but for love." "For family. For you." The blessing of the night. As stars began to bloom in the sky, the air filled with the sound of crickets and the scent of jasmine drifting from the fence. When he walked her home, they lingered at the gate. "Your parents must be waiting," she said softly. "They are," he replied. "But I wanted you to be the first person I saw, and the last person I say good night to." A faint blush rose on her cheeks. "Go," she whispered. "Tomorrow will be a new day." He hesitated, then leaned forward and kissed her forehead, a kiss of gratitude, of promise, of beginning. When he returned home, his mother was waiting at the doorway, a knowing smile in her eyes. "You saw her," she said quietly. James nodded, unable to hide his joy. "Yes, Mom, I saw her." She placed a hand over his heart. "Then you've truly come home." That night, the house was full again, not of guests, but of peace. Laughter echoed softly through the wooden walls, the scent of tea lingered in the air, and outside, the moon watched like an old friend. For the first time in years, James felt whole. His family was safe. His love was near. And his heart, once hardened by ambition and loss, had found its way home. The lesson. Life had tested him, broken him, and rebuilt him anew. It had taught him that happiness isn't found in what we build, but in the hearts we return to. Through his journey, from success to ruin, from pride to humility, James discovered that strength isn't about control or conquest. It's about kindness, forgiveness, and the courage to begin again. Too Deep's love was his mirror, showing that love isn't made of perfection or grand gestures, but of patience, quiet faith, and presence. Her heart was the light that led him back from the darkness. His parents taught him that coming home is more than returning to a place, it's returning to oneself, to the boy who once laughed freely under the sun. Family, he learned, is where forgiveness never runs dry, and so, he carried these lessons with him always. That success means nothing without people to share it with. That love, gentle, enduring love, is the only thing that survives time and distance. That peace is not a reward, but a return. The eternal truth. Years later, whenever James looked at the stars above his childhood home, he thought of that day, the tears in his mother's eyes, his father's quiet embrace, Too Deep's smile in the garden. Those memories became his compass, guiding him through every season of his life. He had once believed the world's applause would bring him joy. Now, he knew better. The truest treasures were simpler, a mother's voice calling your name. A hand that wipes your tears. The laughter of family echoing in the night, and love, patient, faithful love, that waits through every storm. Because home, he realized, isn't a place you find, it's something you build, with the people who never stop believing in you. And when you give love freely, it always finds its way back to you.